Have you ever wondered where our laws come from? Not just the ones in dusty old books, but the very idea of justice itself? Our journey today takes us back nearly 4,000 years, not to a courtroom, but to the sun-drenched plains of Mesopotamia, to a city that rose from the desert like a mirage, the legendary city of Babylon. This wasn't just a collection of mud brick houses. Babylon was the world's first true metropolis, a bustling hub of trade, science, and culture. It was the New York or London of its time, a beacon of civilization in a world still finding its footing. And at the heart of this magnificent city ruled a king whose name would echo through eternity, Hammurabi. Hammurabi wasn't just another conqueror with a thirst for power. He was a visionary, a nation builder who understood that true strength didn't just come from high walls or a powerful army. It came from order, from a shared understanding of right and wrong. He saw a society simmering with disputes, merchants haggling, neighbors quarreling, the strong preying on the weak. He knew that for Babylon to not just survive, but to truly thrive, it needed a foundation built on something stronger than sand. It needed law. So Hammurabi embarked on a revolutionary project. He gathered all the existing laws, customs, and judgments from across his vast kingdom. He consulted with his wisest advisors, priests, and elders. His goal was to create a single, unified legal system that would apply to everyone, from the wealthiest noble to the humblest farmer. What he created was more than just a set of rules. It was a masterpiece of early legal thought, carved for all eternity onto a towering 8-foot-tall black diorite stone. We call it the Code of Hammurabi. This imposing monument was placed in a public square, likely near the temple, for all to see. In an age where most people couldn't read, this was a powerful statement. Justice wasn't a secret whispered in the king's chambers. It was visible, permanent, and divine. At the very top of the stele, you can see an incredible carving. Hammurabi himself, standing in reverence before Shamash, the Babylonian god of justice. Shamash is handing Hammurabi the rod and ring, symbols of divine authority to enact law. The message was clear. These weren't just the king's laws. They were the god's laws. Now, when most of us think of Hammurabi's code, one phrase immediately comes to mind. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. It sounds brutal, doesn't it? Like a simple formula for endless revenge. But in its historical context, this principle, known as asterisk lex talionis asterisk, or the law of retaliation, was actually a massive step forward for civilization. Imagine the world before this code. If someone from a powerful family injured a commoner, what do you think happened? The commoner's family would have little recourse. Revenge might be swift and disproportionate, a life for an eye, or they might receive no justice at all. Hammurabi's code aimed to stop this cycle of escalating violence and inequality. It introduced the concept of proportionality. The punishment should fit the crime. It wasn't about encouraging people to poke each other's eyes out. It was about creating a system of balanced, predictable justice. It was a radical idea that the law should be a scale, not just a sword. Let's dive into some of the 282 laws inscribed on that stone. They give us an unparalleled, fly-on-the-wall view of daily life in ancient Babylon. The code covered everything you can imagine. Commercial law was incredibly detailed. If a merchant loaned grain to a farmer, the interest rate was legally capped to prevent predatory lending. If a boatman hired to transport goods was careless and his boat sank, he had to replace the full value of the cargo. These laws fostered trust and made complex trade possible, turning Babylon into the economic powerhouse of the ancient world. Family law was also central. The code detailed marriage contracts, divorce proceedings, and inheritance rights. For instance, a woman was entitled to get her dowry back if she was divorced without cause. While it was still a patriarchal society, the code provided women with certain legal protections that were unheard of in many other ancient cultures. It recognized that a stable society begins with stable families. But the code also had a dark side, one that feels shockingly harsh to our modern sensibilities. The punishments were severe and often depended on your social status. For example, if a doctor performed a surgery on a nobleman and the patient died, the doctor's hands could be cut off. However, if the same doctor's surgery resulted in the death of a slave, the penalty was much lighter. He just had to replace the slave. This reveals the deeply stratified nature of Babylonian society. Justice was balanced, but the scales were weighted by social class. Consider the famous laws concerning construction. Law 229 states, if a builder builds a house for someone and does not construct it properly, and the house which he built falls in and kills its owner, then that builder shall be put to death. If the owner's son was killed, the builder's son would be put to death. It's that eye for an eye principle applied with chilling literalness. This wasn't just about punishment. It was about ensuring accountability and public safety. When you're building a city of thousands, shoddy workmanship isn't just an inconvenience. It's a deadly threat. Hammurabi's law made the consequences for negligence terrifyingly clear. So, was Hammurabi a cruel tyrant or a wise lawgiver? The truth is, he was probably both. He was a product of his time, a Bronze Age ruler trying to impose order on a chaotic world. His code was a mixture of enlightened principles and brutal realities. It established the ideas that the law should be public, that evidence mattered, the code has provisions against false accusations, and that the state, not private individuals, was responsible for dispensing justice. These were revolutionary concepts. The legacy of Hammurabi's code is immense. It didn't just disappear when Babylon eventually fell. Its principles were studied and adapted by later civilizations. The legal traditions of the Hebrews, the Greeks, and the Romans all show echoes of the ideas first chiseled into that black stone. The concept of a written constitution, the idea of innocence until proven guilty, the very structure of our modern legal systems all owe a small debt to that ancient king and his vision. The stone itself, the stele of Hammurabi, has its own incredible story. It stood in Babylon for centuries before being captured as war booty and taken to the city of Susa in modern-day Iran. There it lay, lost to history for thousands of years, until it was rediscovered in 1901 by French archaeologists. Today, it stands proudly in the Louvre Museum in Paris, a silent testament to humanity's long and often difficult quest for justice. So the next time you hear an eye for an eye, I hope you'll remember its origin. It's not just a call for vengeance. It's a reminder of a time when humanity first dared to dream of a world ruled by fairness instead of fear, of order instead of chaos. It's the story of how a king in an ancient desert city carved a new path for civilization, a path we are still walking today. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you found this fascinating, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shaped our world. Let me know in the comments what ancient civilization you'd like to explore next. See you in the next video.